Welcome back to this solo playthrough of the Bismarck scenario from Atlantic Chase, and we will just jump right back into the action. So as always, we roll for the weather, and the weather changes. So as you can see on this table, when the weather is bad, it changes back on a 5 to 6. So the weather changes back. We had a brief bad weather. So with that, the Germans are going to do a naval search again. This time, we don't have to deal with interruption because we remove the segment with the intel trigger. So we're just rolling on the naval search table. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're rolling on the 14 row because that's how many trajectories are that's the trajectory total. So we've moved over a column, which is good. And with an 8 result, we take it down to 3 segments. So we basically reduce this convoy to 3 segments of our choosing. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it. I want to leave this one. I think I'm going to leave it as these 3 segments. Again, I'm trying to get them as far away from Clyde as possible. I don't want to remove anything here because if I do that, 1, 2, 3, 4, if I were to remove this segment, then this trajectory could become only 6, which would give them the possibility of completing. So in good weather and without an intel marker, I can remove 1, 2, 3 from my own trajectory. And now again, the British are going to try to seize initiative. So they have to roll a 9, and there's no pluses on this roll. And so we are going to maintain initiative. So we move the tally marker up here again, flip it to the British side. So they'll be getting a +1 from now on. And we're just going to continue trying to bring this trajectory to battle. This time we've moved over 1 more column again. So we are now on the 5 to 9 because there are 7 segments total. So we're rolling on that column. And a 7 is still a 3 result. Now, unfortunately for me, this convoy is already only 3 segments, so I can't remove any, which means that they are going to get an evasive maneuvers marker. So they now have an evasive maneuvers marker. We, again, sort of time lapse, so we remove 3 segments, and now the British are trying to seize initiative again, this time with a +1. And they will do it this time. So we will move that back and flip that. And so now it is over to the British. So first things first, we're going to roll for weather. And the weather does not change. So next we are going to roll for what the British action is going to be. And it's going to be a C. So we've already done this, so we know what this is. So essentially, this convoy is going to continue trying to get to Clyde. They are probably aware that the Bismarck is in the area and are running scared. So they are going to then remove 2 segments. Sorry, let me back up a second. So what they are actually trying to do is to complete. But they have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 7 segments. So they are not capable of completing this turn. So what they are going to do is remove 2. So they're going to time lapse instead. So they'll remove 2 segments. And then we will initiative will pass to the Germans. After a time lapse, initiative always passes. So the Germans will then roll for initiative. Roll for the weather, not roll for initiative. They will roll for the weather. The weather does not change. So now the Germans are going to attempt to, again, search for this convoy. So we have 6 trajectory total. So we're still in this second column. but he gets a -1 for this evasive maneuvers marker. So we will use that evasive maneuvers marker to get a -1 on this roll. One quick note, I was just looking something up, and technically this marker should go over here in the task force box, because it's not actually attached to a segment. So to avoid confusion, I should have put it in the task force box. So anyway, so there's going to be a -1 to this roll for that evasive maneuvers marker. So we will roll these two. And we get a 9 result, which is a contact marker and a shadow result. So the shadow result means that I reduce him down to 3 segments because I was able to reduce him. He doesn't get an evasive maneuvers marker, and we attach a contact marker to that convoy. So with that, the Bismarck does its time lapse, which is going to turn it into a station. And we return to seizing initiative. So with an 8, the British do not seize initiative. They do get a +1 here. But now we should stand a pretty good chance because we're doing a naval search. He's only got 3 segments, and we have a contact marker. So this should be a good chance for a good result on this convoy. So we are in this first column, and we are getting a +4. And we're getting a +4 because the convoy is actually very slow. So unlike when we were going after the cruisers, the convoy is very slow. So we get a +4 to this roll. So we roll. And the good news is with an 8, we get this result, which is a skirmish and a station. So we'll take a quick peek just to remind ourselves what both of those are, but I'm pretty sure that's going to allow me to have 1 round of battle with this convoy. So the sighted result, as you can see here, means I basically remove all the trajectories and I place a station in its space. And skirmish is the same as contact, but if the active task force is faster, and in this case I am. The Bismarck is medium, that's my slowest ship, and the convoy is very slow, so I can have a limited battle. So far zone and 1 round of battle only. So first things first, we place a station, and we get rid of all of the trajectory segments. And then we are going to bring these 2 units over to the battle board, and we're going to place them in the far zone. And similarly, we are going to bring these 2 units over and put them in the far zone. So in addition, we're going to make 2 quick adjustments. So we're going to move, the last round is here, because there's only 1 round of battle. And then the British are going to set up with smoke. I think that's a logical for them to set up with smoke. And so that means that there's going to be essentially -1s to the gunnery in all cases. So this puts us at extreme range. And what that means is that we'll be rolling 3 dice and taking the lowest 2. The Bismarck is going to get a +2 to the dice because it has a +2 gunnery factor out there at long and extreme range. And the Ramillies has a 0 and the Prinz Eugen has a 0. So basically the Bismarck is the only one who's going to be getting a plus, and the smoke is going to create a -1. So one thing I'd really like to do is I'd like to end up getting 2 hits on Ramillies so that I could damage it. That will mean that the Ramillies will probably be, it gives me victory points. It means the Ramillies will probably be taken off the board. And it will also cause the convoy to disperse, all of which get me victory points. But that doesn't seem very likely here because I'm only going to get 2 shots. And neither of them is going to be at particularly great modifiers. So this time, because I've only got this 1 round of combat, I'm actually going to have both my ships target the convoy. And part of the thinking there is that the convoy is very slow, so I'm going to get a +2 to that roll. So the Bismarck is going to be rolling with a +3, basically +2 for its gunnery, +2 for its the target being slow, and then -1 for the smoke. So we roll all 3 dice. And our 2 lowest dice are the 4 and the 6, but the +3 actually gives me a hit on the convoy. So I have to remember for this scenario, I have to remember how many hits I get on convoys, because that's what leads to victory points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a token here just to say that means essentially I've got 1 hit on a convoy thus far. So next I'm going to be rolling for the Prince Eugen, and they're going to be doing this, but they are only going to have a +1. Because they have +2 for very slow, and then they have -1 for the smoke, so just a +1. Their lowest 2 results is this. +1 is an 8. That is a splash, so no result there. And finally, the Romillies will fire, and the Romillies is going to be at -1. The Bismarck, they'll fire at the Bismarck. The Bismarck is medium speed, so no modifier there, so they just get a -1. And their lowest result is a 6, -1 is a 5, so there's no result there. And with that, everything comes off the board. That combat was just 1 round, so the British go back to their convoy. The Germans go back here. And now, because that all came about because of a naval search, we have another seize initiative attempt, this time with a +1 for the British. So an 8 is just not enough for them to seize initiative. So we move their tally marker up, but now we get to go again, and now we have a really strong possibility of having 3 rounds of combat here. So this time we're going to be on the engage table. The trajectory total is 0, and we have a +4. We have a +4 because we have a contact marker. And the target is very slow. So what I'm really hoping for is I can get up here into this surprise area, because that will allow me possibly to really damage or take out the Romillies. So not quite. So we get a battle. So what that means is we're going to move basically everything back over here. But this battle potentially will last 3 rounds. So I'm just going to return Bismarck and Prince Eugen. We're going to return Romillies in the convoy. Everybody sets up in the far zone. So smoke, we will continue. The Romillies in the convoy will continue to lay down smoke. So this time, because I have 3 rounds, I'm going to attempt to actually at least damage the Romillies with this attack. So on the first round, the Bismarck will be rolling, and it will have a +2. It has +2 for its gunnery, +1 because the Romillies is slow, and then -1 for the smoke. So he's going to be rolling 3 dice. Again, we're at extreme range. So real quickly, I hit the rotation values. They all ended up on their foresight. So that's nowhere near good enough to get a hit. So then the Prince Eugen is going to roll, and he's got a -1. That is nowhere near good enough for hit. And then the Romillies is going to roll, also nowhere near good enough for hit. So at extreme range, essentially nothing is going to happen. So we don't have any torpedoes, so we're going to go to maneuver. And the British are obviously going to stay where they are, but the Germans are going to close. By doing this, I get myself now into long range, which means that we won't be rolling 3 dice and taking the worst 2 results from that. The British will maintain smoke. But the British are going to attempt to break away. And this is basically going to be an even die roll. So we will roll for breakaway, and they are not going to successfully break away with a 7. So we move on to round 2 of combat. So in this round, we still have smoke. So basically, everything is going to be the same. The Bismarck will be firing at the Romillies with +3, but in this case, they will be rolling 2 dice, only 2 dice. And with a 7, they get 1 hit. So they get +3 to that, which leads to 1 hit on the Romillies. The Prince Eugen is going to be rolling an even roll this time. The Romillies is +1 for being slow, but -1 for the smoke. So I would love to get a good roll here. But no hit on the Romillies. So once again, the Bismarck is rolling 2 dice with a +3. So that is good enough for a second hit, which is good enough to damage the Romillies, which is the result I was looking for. That means that the convoy is going to disperse. So now the Prince Eugen is rolling, and so I shouldn't really flip this yet. Let me be super clear about that, actually. I shouldn't flip this yet, because combat is all simultaneous. And what I don't want to do is... I don't want to change the Romillies into very slow yet. So Prince Eugen is rolling here. So again, he has this is just an even die roll. So no effect. Now the Romillies fires back with a -1 and nothing on the Bismarck. So the 2 hits on the Romillies are enough with that the 2 in the black box. That's enough to damage the Romillies. So we move on again to the maneuver step, and according to the scenario rules, if this convoy is in a convoy with a damaged ship, it will disperse. So we flip that to its disperse side, and there's really no need to roll for breakaway at this point because this is the final battle round. So we will simply return these to their convoys. But per the scenario rules, we get 1 victory point for the damaged Romillies. Although I'm actually not going to record that yet, just in case we catch them again and sink them. So with that, because that was an engage action, we are vying for initiative. So the British are adding 2 to their dice here. But we are going to maintain the initiative. So this is not a particularly great situation for the Germans. So we are once again rolling on the engage table. And we have that +4 from the contact marker. So that's a 10, which gives us surprise. So a couple of small differences in terms of surprise. So we're going to move these back. The British, with a surprise, set up in the near zone, not the far zone. The British are not able to make smoke to start this this battle, and the Germans get to attack first. So I'm going to get to attack and then apply my results before they fire back. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this chance to try and actually put the Romillies on the bottom of the ocean. So we are going to be only rolling 2 dice. The Germans, the Bismarck has +2 for its gunnery and +2 because the damage Romillies is very slow. So we have +4 to this roll. So that's a 10. So that gives me 1 hit. So that's part way there. I need to get 2 hits in order to sink the Romillies. So it's down to the Prince Eugen, which has a +2 to this roll. So basically a 7 or higher. An 8, that is going to actually sink the Romillies. So the Romillies is sunk before it gets a chance to fire back. I get 3 victory points for actually sinking the Romillies. So with that, the convoy has no gunnery, so we move on to the maneuver phase. So the convoy is going to move itself to the far zone. The Germans will move themselves to the near zone. The convoy does not have the ability to make smoke, nor actually, by the way, does the damage Romilly. So smoke wasn't really a factor in that surprise battle. But the key thing for the surprise there was the fact that it allowed me to actually sort of attack him first. So I was able to sink him before he even got a shot in. So the convoy is now going to attempt to sort of break away. Again, this is an even die roll and is not going to succeed. So now we're going to be attacking the convoy. Now, scenario rules disperse convoys, so I can only do one hit per attack on this dispersed convoy. So the Bismarck is going to be rolling with +4 because the convoy is very slow. So it is going to get a hit on the convoy. Technically, with a +4, that would have been 2 hits. But because of the rules for dispersed convoys, it's only 1 hit. And the Prince Eugen with a +2 will also score a hit on the convoy. So we're up to 3 hits on convoys. So I'm not going to bother moving to the close zone because it doesn't really do anything. And we'll move to, we will roll for the convoy to break away, which it successfully does. So we don't get a 3rd round of combat, unfortunately, against that unescorted task force. And so now we move to vie for initiative with +3 to the British roll. And this time the British will, in fact, seize initiative. We'll end this video here and come back to the game in the next video. If you're enjoying this video, if you're enjoying this series, this channel, it would be great if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell. Doing things like leaving comments, sharing, and liking the video. They all help the videos get found by other people on YouTube, which helps the channel and would be much appreciated. But we will be back in the next video with more of Atlantic Chase.